Hey everybody, and welcome back to one of our final 2025-2026 offseason videos. Today we're going to be tier listing every WBC team in the tournament. There's 20 of them. We're going to be going through, looking at their rosters, and then seeing where they fit amongst these 6 tiers. Pretty self-explanatory in terms of the tiers. So with that being said, let's hop right into it. Australia has a couple guys who I would consider to be relatively major league caliber. Travis Bazzana, top prospect for the Guardians. Curtis Mead, who's played in the big leagues a little bit. And then Liam Hendriks, he also just got a minor league deal. Spent some significant time in the big leagues. Warwick Saupold, if I'm not mistaken, spent some time in the big leagues. Beyond that, frankly, there's not a lot here, right? The vast majority of these guys, if not the rest of them, if I'm not mistaken, play in Australia's professional league, which is not considered to be all that good. So with that being said, I think I'm going to have to put Australia into the D tier. You might ask, why not F? Well, when you actually have some major league caliber players on your team, that's going to be a big boon to you. As you'll see, we'll get into some other teams later on that actually don't have anybody. And in fact, Brazil is one of them. There's only one guy on this entire team who spent significant time in the big leagues, and that's Thiago Vieira. Sorry if I mispronounced any of these names. He spent some innings in the big leagues. He used to throw 102 back in the day. For anyone who remembers, Eric Pardinho, 15-year-old who was throwing 95 miles an hour back in the day, he is back in this tournament. Dante Bichette Jr., Bo Bichette's brother. And then beyond that, there's really not that much to talk about. This, to me, has to be one of the worst overall rosters in the entire tournament. They go into F. No shade. Again, always great to see players and teams participate on the international stage, but yeah, we're not looking at a ton here. Much, much better is Team Canada. Josh Naylor, all-star caliber first baseman for the Seattle Mariners. Owen Casey, great prospect for the Cubs. And then just a bunch of quality major league starting caliber talent, right? Otto Lopez, Tyler O'Neill, Liam Hicks, Edouard Julien, Denzel Clark, and then Jameson Taillon, who's actually one of the more dependable starting pitchers in the entire tournament. Every year he's going to give you a 3.5 to 4 ERA consistently. Kyle Quantrill should do relatively well in the tournament as well. Michael Soroka has pitched in the major leagues like did last year. He's had a bit of a bounce back season. Matt Brash, one of the best relievers overall in the sport. James Paxton, 2024 with the Dodgers, last pitched. Honestly, just a solid team, I would say, overall at Canada's fielding. I would say they're B tier. We'll see some teams that are definitely in the A and S tier, right? So Canada, I think, is a little below that, but they have significant major league talent and some actual significant major league talent depth as well, which is huge. Chinese Taipei, again, some major league caliber talent here. Yu Chang, Stuart Fairchild, Song Che Cheng, Hao Yu Lee. All guys, Jonathan Long, all guys who've either spent significant time in the minors or have played some games at the big league level. Their pitching is really where they're going to struggle, in my opinion. They don't have anybody who's pitched in the major leagues for any stretch of time. If I'm not mistaken, I don't see anybody who's playing in the minor leagues. Yu Min Lin, I think, is playing in the minor leagues. But yeah, beyond that, there's not a ton here. No hate to this country, obviously. Same thing as with Brazil, but I think I'm going to have to give them the F. Well, no, they're D tier. They're D tier. They do have some, even if they don't have a single major league player on their roster, they do have some talent that's relatively close. So that keeps them above Brazil. So next up, we got Colombia. Similar story, honestly. A little bit more. I'd say they have a little bit more. Gio Urshela spent some time in the big leagues as a starter. Elias Diaz, Jorge Alfaro, Harold Ramirez, Donovan Solano, Gustavo Campero, all spent some time in the big leagues. Jose Quintana, actually not a bad guy to be your game one starter. He's started games in the postseason, right? So not bad at all. Luis Patino has some electric stuff. Nabil Crismat has been decent in the past. Julio Teheran, for anybody who remembers early 2010s, early to mid 2010s baseball, it's cool to see that name again. Teheran Guerrero threw 102 back in the day. Colombia, again, nothing that special. I'll put them frankly in C tier because there's definitely upper level talent on this Canadian team from Casey, from Naylor, that you're not going to have on the Colombian team, but they're still a step above these couple squads. So Cuba, honestly, this might be the worst team that Cuba's ever fielded, at least that I can remember. I mean, they have one dude who's like a solid major league player, and that's Yohan Moncada. Beyond that, you have, or I guess Yariel Rodriguez would also count in there. Yohan Lopez has pitched some in the big leagues, but There's just not a lot here. I would not think they would be that good. You translate them to a big league team, they're probably the worst big league team ever. So I'm gonna have to put them into the F tier. You could make an argument that Yoan Moncada pulls them out of it, but frankly, I don't think the cumulative talent's enough to knock them out of it. Not enough players that would be adjacent to major league caliber at this point. Well, yeah. Czech, they're the worst team in the tournament. Let's just get that out of the way right now. Specifically, their pitching. They really don't have anybody. Now, it's not to hate on them. Again, like all due as much respect as possible goes out to these dudes who are willing to put themselves in vulnerable positions on the biggest stage in the world, take on some juggernaut teams. The only guy who's actually gotten in major league inning or at bat, if I'm not mistaken, is Terran Vavra, who has like 3 games or something like that. So again, we're not looking at anything that's very good. They're definitely the worst team in the tournament. Honestly, they're probably a tier below these other 2 teams, if I'm being honest. But you know what? We're going to keep them in that tier and give them all the respect in the world for going up against some of the best talent. And speaking of best talent, Dominican Republic. This team is ridiculously stacked. Let's count the All-Stars. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Ketel Marte, Fernando Tatis Jr., Julio Rodriguez, Juan Soto, Geraldo Perdomo, Manny Machado, Junior Caminero, Christopher Sanchez. I think Luis Severino's been in his career, so has Sandy Alcantara. I mean, that's like what? I mean, between the relievers, that's like 15 plus major league all-stars on this squad. Vladdy, arguably the best first baseman in baseball. Ketel Marte, arguably the best second baseman in baseball. Julio Rodriguez, one of the best center fielders. Tatis Jr., one of the best right fielders. Juan Soto, probably the best left fielder in Major League Baseball. Really crazy future Hall of Fame, a number of future Hall of Famers on this team, probably, if I'm being honest. And again, one of the deeper bullpens the entire tournament. Uribe had a great year last year. Doval's always electric. Estevez has some veteran presence to him. Just like legitimately, I would say an S-tier quality team. One of the best in the tournament. Could be an easy front runner to win the entire thing. Great Britain, now they're one of the more top-heavy teams, I would say, because Harry Ford, Jazz Chisholm, and Nate Eaton, all big league caliber players. Jazz Chisholm specifically is definitely the best player on the team. But, Harry Ford, good prospect for the Nationals now. The only problem is there's not a lot of major league caliber talent here. Not a lot of guys who spent significant time at that level. And specifically, their pitching is, whew. Vance Worley in 2026. Yeah, I'm gonna say that they're C tier just because they actually do have Harry Ford, Jazz Chisholm, and Nate Eaton. But I mean, it's really only because these 2 teams don't have anybody of note on them, more than the impressive potential of Britain. Next up, we have Israel. Spencer Horwitz, Harrison Bader, Garrett Stubbs, Matt Mervis, Troy Johnston, Dean Kramer. Spent some time at the big league level, all of them, varying levels of success. Horwitz had a good year hitting last year. Harrison Bader had a breakout season. Underlying numbers weren't super great, but, again, all guys that are at least like on the level, relatively speaking, of major leagues. Honestly, yeah, I would say they're B. They're a little bit above because Britain does not have nearly the depth that they do in terms of everybody being at like a reasonable water level. And I mean, Kramer is like better than anybody that Britain has pitching wise. So I'll put them in B. I think Canada's pretty significantly better than they are, but they probably still do belong in this tier. Probably in the back half if I were to order them, like power rank them, although I don't think I'm going to do that. For the Italians, honestly, they have one of the more underrated squads of the entire tournament. Canzone had a breakout season last year. Pasquantino had over 30 homers. Marci had a great rookie season. Zach DeCenzo, major league caliber. Kyle Teal, great rookie season, really underrated. Jack Caglione could be a tournament breaker. He could be somebody who hits 5 homers in 4 games or whatever it is. Aaron Nola is a legit number 1 in a tournament like this. Might not be quite the same pitcher as he used to be, but he's a legit number 1 in a tournament of this caliber. Michael Lorenzen, solid number 2. Again, spent a lot of time in the big leagues. Aldegari, Weissert, Graceffo, Altavia, Ottavino, like some good, like surprising depth. If I'm not being honest, like surprising depth. I would consider them to be. Are they in the B tier? Honestly, I think they're a little bit above these other players, specifically because of their pitching. Their lineup is probably in a relatively similar spot as these two, maybe a little bit better, but their pitching is solid. So I'm going to put them into the A tier. Again, one of the more underrated teams, in my opinion, in the entire tournament. And now we come to Japan. Like Shohei Munetaka, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Seiya Suzuki, all these NPB all-stars, like Tomoyuki Sagano too, Matsui, like not even too much point in talking about them. Like you have the best player in the world, you have one of the most intriguing rookies in the entire sport, a solid 30 home run hitting outfielder, like the one of the top 3 to 5 pitchers in the sport. What more can you say? They're S tier. They're one of the front runners in the tournament. They might not be quite as top heavy. Well, I'm sorry, not quite as good as the top 2 teams, which we'll get up to the other one a little bit, but I'd say still elite. Korea next up. Jahmai Jones had a great season last year for the Tigers, specifically versus lefties. Haesung Kim, good rookie season for the Dodgers. Jung-Hoo Lee's been solid for the Giants. Shea Whitcomb, played at the major league level. Hyunjin Ryu's played at the major league level. Like, they're pretty good. I would say they're pretty good. They're not anywhere near as elite as some of these other teams. I would consider them probably in the B tier. They're probably better than Israel, probably a little worse than Canada, but they will stay in most of the games they play in. That's my prediction, which is, that's good enough to get you into that tier. Mexico always shows out. Jonathan Aranda, Alejandro Kirk, Jaron Duran, and Randy Rosarena all are like major league caliber all-star players. Variance in there in terms of the overall quality, but still all very good players. And then the rest of the team, these are all starting caliber guys who started significant games in the major leagues. Javier Assad's been okay in his career. Taiwan Walker's not been that good recently, but he can go out there and give you 5 innings, 2 runs on his best day. Taj Bradley is electric stuff, just hasn't put it all together. This bullpen is okay. Robert Garcia, Brendan Bernardino, Andres Munoz is actually elite, so he's a great guy to have at the back of that bullpen. Victor Vodnik, those 102. So I think Mexico's in the A tier. I think that they're probably a little bit above a team like Italy, but still not quite up to the level as these teams. I don't expect them to be competing in the finals or anything like that. But again, still very respectable roster. Netherlands, you have Albies, Rafaela, Xander Bogaerts, Didi Gregorius, all spent some significant time in the big leagues. Jerks and Profar, same thing. Where they're really going to struggle is going to be in their pitching. They really only have one major league caliber arm, and that's Kenley Jansen, who, don't get me wrong, that's 400 saves, one of the best closers of all time, but they're not going to be, I think, stealing very many games specifically because of their bullpen. Keep an eye out for Rafaela. He could be a tournament maker. He comes up in the biggest moments, and he's one of the best fielders in the entire sport. I would say that they're in the C tier because of their pitching. Again, they have some major league caliber players, but their arms are definitely, in my opinion, going to hold them back. I think they'd be one of the better teams in the C tier. I just don't see them, jumping too far above that. Nicaragua, you got Mark Vientos, and that's pretty much it in terms of starting caliber players. Erasmo Ramirez played some last year at the big league level. That's pretty much it. Everyone else is you got some minor leaguers in here. You got Jeter Downs traded for Mookie Betts, little obviously tidbit that I'm sure a lot of people know. Chelsea Cuthbert played for the Royals back in the day. Yeah, not too much meat on this bone, right? Not too much to say here. I would say that they're in the F tier as well. They really only have one guy, starting caliber player at the major league level, even really even super adjacent to the major league level at this point. So I would say they're in the F tier. I don't expect them to do much in this tournament. Panama, again, some major league talent, right? Jose Caballero, Edmundo Sosa, Yohan Camargo, Ruben Tejada is an interesting name to see at DH. Just guys who've spent some time in the big leagues, and their pitching is, I'd say surprisingly good relative to a lot of these other teams that are in the lower tiers, right? Jaime Barria, Logan Allen, Ariel Dorado all spent some time in the big leagues. Logan Allen specifically spent some pretty significant time in the big leagues. Are they going to surprise anybody and knock out a bunch of wins? Probably not, but again, they're going to have a respectable performance, I would say. Because of the overall level of their talent, I'll put them in the C tier. Specifically, their pitching, again, you have some guys who've actually spent some time at the major league level, and you have some decent role players in here as well. I would consider them to be about an average team in this. Maybe on the a bit on the lower end, but still I'd say about C tier. Next up, Puerto Rico. They've been significantly hit, man. I mean, Javier Baez could have been on this team. Carlos Correa could have been on this team. Lindor could have been on this team. And instead, you got Arenado, Rosario, Elliot Ramos, Ryan Torres, Willie Castro, Martin Maldonado, like Seth Lugo, Jose Barrios, who's going to be in the second round, apparently. Like, all guys who spent time at the big league level. Their bullpen's got some guys at the big league level, too. Fernando Cruz, Yaxel Rios, Jorge Lopez, Joe Moran, like pretty decent guys. Edwin Diaz obviously could be a tournament maker, but he's not going to throw more than an inning at a time. Could have been, in my opinion, an S tier team, or at least like a high A tier team. I still will give them A tier because just the median for them is really high. Like, these are all guys who spent significant time in the major leagues, but they're upper tier. Like, their real chance to make a run at it, I'd say, is sapped at this point. And now, what I would consider to be the best roster in the entire tournament, take a look at this. Roman Anthony, Byron Buxton, Aaron Judge, Alex Bregman, Bobby Witt Jr., Gunnar Henderson, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Kyle Raleigh, Joe Ryan, Logan Webb, Paul Skeens, Tarek Skubal. How many guys here do you think make the All-Star team this year? Like, I think legitimately there's a case for all of them, right? In their bullpen, you have Clay Holmes, Brad Keller, David, like, I'm not even going to read off the name. Like, these are all ridiculous relievers. Mason Miller specifically is the best one among them. Nolan McLean, frankly, could get a start if any one of these guys need a start off or whatever. Like, this is the best team in the tournament, in my opinion. And I'm not just biased because I'm an American. I mean, like, legitimately, like, all of our stars, for whatever reason this year, just decided to get into it. So, I mean, a front of Tarek Skubal and Paul Skeens, like, that's just ridiculous. I feel bad for the teams that have to face that. Venezuela, another team that's really, really good, in my opinion. I mean, Arias, Jimenez, Garcia, Suarez, Churrio, Cunha Jr., William Abreu. How many All-Stars do you have here? I mean, Torres, Arias, Abreu, Cunha Jr., Churrio. You can see all these guys making an All-Star team. Garcia, even like a Suarez. And their pitching, while it's not elite, especially after losing Pablo Lopez, you got a legit number one in Ranger Suarez for the tournament. Marquez, Eduardo Rodriguez spent some significant time in the big league. Senzatella, same story. Like, this is an underrated team, I think, to some degree, just because they too don't have quite the depth of some of these other teams. But in my opinion, I can't quite put them in that S tier just because, well, yeah, I can't quite put them in that S tier because they don't have quite the depth that some of these other teams have in front of them. They would definitely be the best team in the A tier, though. I think that they pretty significantly would beat pretty much everybody below them in this A tier. But yeah, still a very impressive roster, specifically Acuna Jr. He could be a real game wrecker. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to leave your comments below, giving any feedback on my designations, anywhere you would have liked to see certain teams, maybe even discussions of certain players. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching. All right, everybody. If you made it this far, I appreciate you watching. And if you did, consider checking out any of these other videos on your screen right now for other content just like this. Also, if you ever see anything you'd like to see me detail in the video, feel free to reach out to my email, basebpoet@gmail.com. And if I end up using your idea, I'll give you a shout out. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day.